So when I first got into American Express credit cards and membership rewards points, I was definitely overwhelmed with all the options that I had for redeeming those points. And maybe you're feeling that way too, but once I looked into the details and did a little bit of research, I started to learn some of the good ways to redeem these points and some of the not so good ways that you really should stay away from. That's why in this video, we're gonna go through a full guide to redeeming Amex points for things like statement credits, gift cards, online purchases, and of course, travel. We'll go over how to get maximum value and what to avoid, and we're gonna break this down in a very simple way that'll be helpful to anyone, including beginners. So as always, let's get right into this with the first way to redeem membership rewards points, and this is going to be one of the worst ways, and that is redeeming for a statement credit. Now, my target goal is to get at least 1 cent per point in value at a minimum for my Amex points. That way, for a card like my Amex Gold card, which gets 4x points per dollar at grocery stores and restaurants, that 4x points per dollar is going to be equal to 4% back in value. So for anyone that's not familiar with how this works, a $100 grocery purchase at 4x MR points per dollar is equal to 400 points, and 400 MR points at a value of 1 cent per point is equal to $4. So therefore, $4 worth of points is the same thing as 4% back in this $100 example at a 1 cent per point valuation. But with redeeming points for a statement credit to pay off charges on your credit card statement, you're only going to be getting 0.6 cents per point in value, well below my target of 1 cent per point for what could be considered okay. That means in that same $100 grocery purchase with your Amex Gold, you'd still earn 4x points per dollar, which is still 400 points earned. But then at 0.6 cents per point, that makes those 400 points worth only $2.40, which is 2.4% back on that $100 expense. Looking at this side by side, you'd much rather redeem those points to get at least $4 or 4% back with some of the redemption options that we'll go through in this video, rather than $2.40 or 2.4% back as a statement credit. Now that's pretty basic stuff, but I just wanted you to remember that when it comes to redeeming American Express membership rewards points, we really want to try to get at least 1 cent per point in value and no less. But ideally, we want to try to get above 1 cent per point in value when there's redemptions that make sense for our own travel plans, which we'll get to a little bit later, because generally redeeming for travel, especially for certain flights, is going to be your best option. My mindset has always been that most of us are likely to travel at some point, and we would expect to pay cash for things like flights. So instead of using cash to book those flights, we might as well just use credit card points instead, because we know that many times those credit card points are going to give us much better value for those bookings. That way we can save our money for other things. Now, even though I do not recommend redeeming your points for a statement credit, if you do want to do this, it's really as simple as going to the top and going to rewards and benefits, then earn and redeem, and then select cover your card charges. You can see here that if we take this $86.94 Trader Joe's purchase, it'll take 14,490 points to pay off this charge. And then when we do the math here, that values those points at that 0.6 cents per point value that we talked about before. So statement credit redemptions are not going to be a good option. And I'd also say that this next method of redeeming points is pretty bad as well, and that is shopping with your points through the Amex website. Now, normally shopping online through Amex with points is going to get you about 0.5 cents per point in value. So for example, if something normally costs you $100 in cash through the Amex shopping portal, that would cost 20,000 membership rewards points. And $100 divided by 20,000 points equals 0.5 cents per point. But sometimes Amex might run special promotions where it sounds like a good deal because you can use less points, like this one on the screen right now as I'm filming this video. There's an offer for Mother's Day where you can use 25% less points for a limited time. Now, I actually think this is just a cheap trick being done by Amex to try to get you to use your points. That way you don't redeem them for something that has more value later on, like travel, which we're going to get to in just a bit. But if we go back to our membership rewards home and then click on earn and redeem again, we can go down to go shopping, which is going to take us to this shopping portal where we can look through a bunch of different items. So if we look at this Apple Watch as an example, it cost a total of $454.74 after taxes. And it says that normally it would cost 90,948 points, but now it only costs 68,177 points. And that is nice that the cost is less in points right now, but still, if we go ahead and do the math again, that $454.74 total cost in cash divided by the 68,177 points it would take to redeem for this, that comes out to about 0.67 cents per point, which is only slightly above that statement credit option and still well below our minimum of 1 cent per point that we should be aiming for with Amex point redemptions. So overall, I'd say to stay away from statement credits, online shopping, and this next redemption method as well, which is going to be very similar to those other two, and that is paying with Amex points at checkout. Now, this is where you can actually go to checkout at Amazon or through PayPal and a few other select websites as well, and then you're gonna see an option to use your Amex points balance to pay for that purchase. So to show you why this is another bad option, let's say that I wanted to buy this like button pillow here on Amazon to remind you to go ahead and tap the like button down below to get this video pushed out to more people. First of all, if we get 1,000 likes here, then I'll go buy that pillow and put it in the background of my next video because I think it's gonna match perfectly with this old subscribe pillow that I have as well. So make sure to go subscribe down below. But second, this pillow cost a total of $12.70, and you can see that my Amex Gold card is linked as a payment method where it says that I could use 1,814 membership rewards points instead for this purchase. Now, when we do that quick math, $12.70 divided by the 1,814 points it would take comes out to a value of 0.7 cents per point. Again, still well below that 1 cent per point minimum target redemption value. You're gonna find a similar outcome of around 0.7 cents per point when you pay with Amex points at checkout at a few different options like PayPal, Best Buy, Grubhub, and some other places. So since that's also not a great option for redeeming membership rewards points, let's move on to sort of the last cash equivalent option that we have on basic Amex cards, and that is going to be redeeming points for gift cards. Now, this is still usually going to be an option that gets you below 1 cent per point in value, but sometimes it might be a little bit higher than that, sometimes it might be a little bit lower than that. It really all depends on different special promotions going on and what store's gift card you're looking at. So here, this TJ Maxx and Marshall's gift card, which is where I buy most of my Henley shirts from, this $100 gift card costs 11,765 points. When we do the math, that's a value of about 0.85 cents per point, so not great, but it's getting better compared to some of our previous options that we've gone over. But then I saw this $100 Best Buy gift card for 14,286 points, which is valued even less at about 0.7 cents per point. So in both of these gift card examples, I would say it's not worth it to get these gift cards just because you're getting below 1 cent per point in value. And as I'm looking around this website, I'm not really seeing that many offers where I'm getting 1 cent per point. So gift cards is kind of a hit or miss thing where I don't think it's the best option, but it's definitely not the worst option either. So with all of the redemption methods that we've gone over so far in this video, if you're looking to see if something is a good deal or not, all you have to do is use that simple formula that I've been using throughout the video. Just take the cash price in dollars and divide it by the points amount to get a cents per point value. Then anything below 1 cent per point, stay away from. Anything at 1 cent per point or higher is what we want to aim for, depending on how you want to use your points. Now, there are some other options that you could have for redeeming your points for cash back using features on specific versions of other Amex cards, like the Charles Schwab version of the Amex Platinum. So with the Schwab Amex Platinum, you can redeem your membership rewards points into your Schwab brokerage account at a value of 1.1 cents per point. That means that if you had 100,000 MR points, you could redeem that into your brokerage account for $1,100. Compare that to getting 0.6 cents per point for a statement credit. Those 100,000 MR points would only be worth $600. So that's why a lot of people like to have the Schwab Platinum card, because that is going to effectively raise the floor value of those membership rewards points in your account to a much more acceptable level. Also, as a quick side note here, I can't go over every single version of every Amex card out there, like the Amex Business Platinum card or the Amex Centurion card, but those cards are going to have other features that give you more value for those Amex points as well. Those credit cards are a lot less common for the average person to have, so I'm just gonna make separate videos about all those cards and those features. Now next, let's get into redeeming these points for travel, because that is where we're gonna see the value of these points get much better. So we'll start with a few travel options that are not so good for redeeming points, then we'll go over to one travel option that might be just okay, and then we'll finish by talking about transfer partners, which are going to offer the best value. We're gonna go through some examples here as well to compare booking travel in the Amex portal versus booking in cash versus using transfer partners, so let's get into all of that. Now first, there's the option to book hotels, cruises, and car rentals directly through the Amex portal. I'm grouping these things together because booking these through the portal is still only gonna get you around 0.7 cents per point, so still below 1 cent per point and not the best value. To show you an example here, let's go over to our Amex homepage and select rewards and benefits, then earn and redeem, and then down to redeem for travel. We'll go to book and then hotels, and then from there, let's just search for a hotel in my home city of Philadelphia. So for this Marriott in Old City, we could stay for one night at $371 or use 53,010 Amex points in the portal, which basically values these points at 0.7 cents per point, like I mentioned. Now, Marriott is actually a transfer partner with American Express, so we can transfer points at a 1-to-1 rate. And if we look at Marriott's website, for this same night, it only cost 40,000 Marriott points. So that means it only costs 40,000 Amex points if we transfer them. Now, after considering taxes and fees, the cash price of $371 through the Amex portal is still going to be our cheapest option here. So if we take $371 and divide multiplied that by 40,000 transferred points, that would value these points still at only about 0.92 cents per point. There is a special limited time promotion going on right now where actually if you transfer Amex points over to Marriott, you're gonna get 25% more Marriott points, but we're just gonna ignore this for right now, just because for the next example with transferring points over to book a flight, there is something similar going on that I'm gonna go over in more detail. So for other high-end hotel options in Philly, the Fine Hotels and Resorts program in the Amex portal here gives us 1 cent per point. So this Ritz-Carlton costs $629 per night or 62,900 points at that 1 cent per point value. But this is going to be out of the price range for a lot of people, so I'd argue that this is not a good use of points. And that's the takeaway here with hotels. No matter how you're trying to book a hotel, whether that's through the Amex travel portal or by using transfer partners, you're typically not going to find great value for those Amex points, unfortunately. Of course, there's always going to be exceptions to this where you can find certain sweet spots and get above 1 cent per point in value, but for me, I usually do not find myself using my Amex points to book hotel stays. Now, I'm not going to go through an example here, but basically the same thing is going to apply when booking cruises and car rentals through the Amex travel portal as well. You're only going to get that 0.7 cent per point value on average, so not that great. But next, let's go over redeeming points for flights because I think that this is where most people are going to be best off using those points. So first, looking at the Amex portal, let's say that I wanted to fly from Philly to Chicago, which is generally a pretty short domestic flight that's just about 2.5 hours. Here's a one-way American Airlines flight at around 6 a.m. that costs $190 through Amex, which is actually slightly cheaper than the $198 cost that you can see here through the American Airlines website. Now, Amex also gives me the option to book with membership rewards points in their portal, and we see that it says 18,971 points for this flight. Doing the math there, a $190 cash price divided by 18,971 points means that values these points at about 1 cent per point, and that redemption value is what you're going to get for most flights in the Amex portal. That means that you're better off booking flights in the portal at 1 cent per point compared to booking hotels and some other things at 0.7 cents per point. So that's a decent deal, right? We're getting 1 cent per point in value. So going back to the beginning of this video when I was talking about the Amex Gold and how it gets 4x points per dollar on groceries and restaurants, that means with 1 cent per point in value, that 4x points per dollar becomes 4% back when we use those points towards flights booked in the Amex portal, which is the minimum value that we're looking for. But thanks to a cool little trick with Amex and a transfer partner they have, we can actually do better than this 1 cent per point for the same flight from Philly to Chicago by using half as many points. So let's go over that. Now, unfortunately, American Airlines is not a direct transfer partner with American Express, but I know that Amex points transfer to British Airways at a 1-to-1 rate to become Avios. And British Airways is actually a part of One World Alliance, just like American Airlines, which means that I can book certain American Airlines flights using British Airways Avios. Now, this is all going to depend on award availability, so you should always be doing your own research for these things. But if we go ahead and take a look on British Airways website, I found the exact same American Airlines flight and it only cost 9,000 Avios plus an extra $5.60 for taxes and fees. That means instead of booking that flight through the Amex portal for 18,971 points, I could just go ahead and transfer over 9,000 points over to British Airways and then book the exact same flight here and pay only an extra $5.60. So now comparing the $190 cash price divided by the 9,000 points it would take by transferring to British Airways to book this American Airlines flight, that comes out to about 2.1 cents per point in value plus that $5.60. But actually, if we go through the steps to transfer these points, you can see here that Amex is running a promotion right now to get 40% more Avios when transferring over membership rewards points. They'll run these promotions from time to time with certain transfer partners, so it's always a good idea to look out for these. But that means it would only take 7,000 MR points to book this $190 flight, which values those points at about 2.7 cents per point plus that $5.60 fee. So to transfer these points, we just have to go up to rewards and benefits, then earn and redeem, and then transfer points. And here we can see that normally 1,000 points transfers into 1,000 Avios, but with that 40% bonus, that now becomes 1,400 Avios. So we click on that, verify the Amex card that we want to connect, and then enter our British Airways account number. If you don't have an account with British Airways yet, or any other program that you're transferring points to, then just go create an account for free, and it should only take a few minutes. Then we can enter that 7,000 points to transfer. Now, technically, I think when you do the math, it only costs maybe 6,400 points or a little bit above that to transfer over into 9,000 Avios at this rate, but we can only transfer over points in 1,000 point increments, which is why we're gonna round up to 7,000 points and then transfer that over, and then we should have enough Avios to go ahead and book that American Airlines flight. Now, this is one option for booking flights with Amex points and transfer partners that is going to make a lot of sense for many many people out there, and that is booking shorter distance American Airlines flights through British Airways. Now, this method is going to depend on a number of factors, and deals like this are not always going to be available. That's why when it comes to Amex points, you're gonna have to learn about this stuff and research these things on your own. This is what makes Amex points less user-friendly than Chase points, in my opinion, but trust me, once you do get the hang of it and you learn what you're doing, it doesn't have to be that hard to take advantage of transfer partners. And if you take the time to learn this stuff, you'll definitely find ways to get between 1.5 to 2 cents per point, or even much more in value, depending on what type of flights you want to book. Typically, it's going to be those longer international flights in business and first class that get you the highest cent per point value for those points, and that's what a lot of people talk about in the credit card world. But to make Amex points worth it for these high redemptions, you really have to ask yourself if you would even pay for something like a 7-hour, $3,000 business class flight in the first place. For some people, it's about getting to experience something that they wouldn't normally pay for, and they want that, so it's a good idea for them. But for others, the time commitment and the research that it takes to book these high redemption flights is just not worth it, and they would much rather stick with those other flight redemption options that I went over. Now, transfer partners and high cent per point redemption values above 2 cents per point is something that I think I'm gonna make a separate video about, just because I think it'll be best with all the details and the examples that I want to get into. Just do me a favor and like this video, and then comment down below if you want to see content like that in the future. I got some good feedback from you guys in some previous videos that you do want to see this type of stuff, so thank you all for that feedback, and be on the lookout for those videos in the future. So hopefully this Amex point redemption guide was useful, and it's something you can go back and rewatch if you're trying to redeem some of your own Amex points. I know this video ended up focusing more on options that are for the average everyday person like myself, but make sure to go ahead and subscribe down below, because like I said, I am going to make more videos in the future about getting more value for these points with transfer partners. Now, if you want to learn more about the two most popular American Express credit cards, then I highly suggest you go check out these two videos on the screen right now, talking about the Amex Platinum card and the Amex Gold card in much more detail with my full, honest 1-year review of these cards. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.